So recognize that scale? Probably, because everybody uses it, and we're not going to play pentatonic scale that way either. Here's my method for looking at pentatonic scales. Again, not that that's not a cool pattern, and we're actually going to explore it later, but I want to expand upon the lanes idea with some familiar sounds of the pentatonic scale. I'm going to take shape 1. So the formula for a major pentatonic is to play notes 1, 2, 3, skip the 4th, 5 and 6, skip the 7th. When we play 6 of them, we already skipped the 7th, right? It's not there. The 7th, shape 7 would be right there. So the 7th is already gone. So then the next thing we would do is skip the 4th. So we're going to take shape 1 and skip the 4th note. And that's G major pentatonic, which is the same notes as... But we're going to play them in octaves like this. So shape 1 on each lane without its 4th note. And you can see that the possibilities for melodic ideas changes, like with this scale. Those licks, you've heard them all, right? If you play them... So that's a little different. It's not exactly the same, and I couldn't play those licks using this pattern. So that's another reason for learning new ways to kind of divvy up the notes on the fretboard in new shapes, because it allows you to play new melodic content. So again, we got... So that's G major pentatonic across the fretboard. It's not going to end there, though. We are going to explore some new tonalities with pentatonic that are based on the pentatonic idea. So as we move through the scale, we're going to go to shape 2, and we're going to leave out that 4th note. And of course, the 7th note of shape 2 as well, because we don't play that one either. So here's all 6 notes. And then here is shape 2 with no 4th note. So I think that's a fantastic tonality. Let me play a couple of the chords in the key of G, and you'll get the idea of the blending of the sound. So here's like the 4th chord of the key of G, the C, right? So that's a great little tonality that I created with the 2nd shape, and it was played against the 4th chord of the key. Here's using the 5th chord of the key, So you can hear the sound that it creates is different for each chord that would be in the key. I could play the E minor part of the key, the 6th chord of the key, so... So there's the... And again, the other 2 lanes moving up, right? So that's shape 2. With no 4th note. And as I've been playing here, don't be afraid to abandon that perfect fingering that we've been working on by replacing it with a slide. So you can get some really cool lines that way by... And I can tell you by experience that that phrase, I would never be able to play any other way but using the octave... That lane splitting idea, lane, 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 and moving in your octaves, that just wouldn't work anywhere else. So let's move up. Shape 3 without the 4th note. Here's all 6 notes of shape 3. And then we take out that 4th pitch. And we get this kind of major sound to it. But if I were to really have your ear believe that the 3rd chord was our beginning point, I can kind of like trick your ear into thinking that 1st note is the sound of that shape. So it all depends on what chord you play the shape over, and again, the 4 chord works with this. or the 5. So you get a different sound with those 5 notes over each chord of the key. And that's sort of the exploration part of this, the part that you're going to work for your artistic, creative side, is to take the shapes and listen to them over every single one of these chords. The next shape is shape 4, and then we take out the 4th note there. And something interesting happens with that one, in that the shape, the notes that we have that are remaining after we remove that 4th pitch, are identical to shape 1. And since this was a G major pentatonic, that's C major pentatonic. So the idea here is that given no other notes in the key, and you just played those 5, you actually would not know if you were in the key of C major or G major. But given the rest of the notes, so let's say you blend them together. So let's say we did a line where we blend shape 1 with no 4th, and then blend that with the shape 4 with no 4, then you would know that this was the shape 4 and the missing note was that one. But the other takeaway is that you can play a C major pentatonic over the key of G, and that works for all major keys. Off of the 4th degree, you could play the major pentatonic. All 5 notes will sit in the key, but they'll sound a little bit different than they did when they were off the root of the key, especially when you play them over all the chords. So the same thing happens with shape 5 without the 4th degree. And that one also would be a major pentatonic from the 5th note. So basically off the 1st shape, the 4th shape, and the 5th shape, those 3 spots where you have major chords, you can play major pentatonic, but you don't have to line them up. So here's what D major pentatonic would sound like over, again, like the C chord, the 4 chord. So you could see that it doesn't sound anything like it did that when we used the 1 chord and played the... It's very tethered and very home and very grounded, that major sound of the key. This is very... You play the 4 chord, and then the... Your ear doesn't quite register that those are the pentatonic notes. It just feels like notes in the key of G over your 4 chord, and it's a nice little grouping of notes. So it gives you this nice push and pull in the key. So let's go to the next shape, shape number 6. So when you play shape number 6, we take out that 4th note. And you get the sound of that scale. Right? And it sounds very much like the root where we're starting there. But it could sound cool over any of the other chords, such as the 4. So that again is shape number 6 without its 4th note. And you can abandon the perfect fingering with, you know, do slides. Or use 1, 2, and 3. Especially when it gets really high up on the guitar. And then let's move shape 7 down. So the shape 7 would go here. But I don't want to play it high right now. I'm going to work on it in the low register. So here's our F sharp, 7th degree of the key. And no 4th note. So you get that sound of... Kind of sounds like the last note's the root. Like that note right there is the root. And again, so 7th degree of the major scale, take out the 4th note. Try that over all the chords in the key. You could play it again over the, we haven't tried a 2 chord yet, so here's a 2. So here's our G, right? So the next chord up, that's the 1, there's the 2. That's what that shape number 7 without the 4th sounds like the 2 chord, but test it out over all the chords in the key.